Good morning. Pastor Scott asked me to speak for a few minutes to you this morning. I'd like to be there in person, but we're visiting our family, part of our family, two of our grandkids in Iowa City, so I can't be there. But he wanted me to chat a little bit about an experience I had. My name, for those who may be viewing this who don't know me, is Arthur Muir. And on May 23rd last year, I stood on the top of Mount Everest. At the time, and still I guess at this point, I was the third oldest person to ever have that privilege, and making me the oldest American. So, people ask me, one of the questions they want to know is, what was that like on standing on top of the highest mountain in the world? And just to give you an idea, a little perspective on this, about 6,000 people, a little bit over that number, have stood there on top of the highest point on Earth. Starting in 1921 when they tried to climb the mountain, succeeded in 1953, and now in 2022. So almost 100 years, and 6,000 people have stood on that small piece of land, the highest point on the Earth. So, it makes me think about 6,000 is sounds like a lot of people. I mean, how special can something like that be if 6,000 people have also done that? Some have climbed more than once, but 6,000 different people have stood on the top. So I give you some perspective. Think of it this way. If you take people and think of them as seconds in a minute, an hour, day, that would represent, in terms of time, in terms of something we can relate to, 6,000 seconds would equal about an hour and 40 minutes. There's a little bit more than that, so say an hour and 45 minutes. If you think about 1,000,000 seconds, just to give you an idea, 1,000,000 seconds is 12 days. So I'm going to think about this in terms of 6,000 people. And right now, the Earth's population is maybe 7 billion people. And during that period, even from 1953, when people first climbed, when Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay first stood on the summit, till now, probably 3 billion people have lived that are no longer with us, I guess. So I think roughly the time period for people summiting Mount Everest has probably covered the lives of 10 billion people. So in thinking about that, if 6,000 seconds is a minute and 45 minutes, roughly, 10 billion is harder to comprehend. How many people is that? Well, 1,000,000 people, if it were seconds, is 12 days. In 12 days, it's 1,000,000 seconds. 1,000,000,000 seconds, get this, is 32 years. So 10 billion seconds would be 320 years. So out of that period, if all the people in the world represented seconds, out of all of those 320 years, the 6,000 people who stood on Everest would represent 1 hour and 45 minutes. So it sounds like a big number, but it's actually really small. It's really small. Some small number of people have had that privilege. So when I think about people thinking about what was it like, they expect something to be, or my response to be, and what I would have expected is to be that it was euphoric, that it was cathartic, that it was some special feeling, something unique. But for me, it wasn't like that. It was my moment of I guess I'd almost call it an epiphany. My special moment came below the summit when I knew I was going to get to the top. That was a very special emotional moment for me. And as I think about it now, and I've told people this a lot since then, it still gives me goosebumps. When I realized that I was going to get to the top of this mountain, I was actually going to stand on top of this mountain, and I was going to see and find out what it looked like, what it was like up there. I was going to do this. So I got to the top, and by that time I was still working hard and kind of focused on what I was doing. my moment had come. It was a very special moment, and it's still very special to me. But I want to read a quote. I've got a quote here from a climber who was also, kind of a touchy-feely guy, kind of a philosopher, but it's a well-known quote. His name was René Dumas, and he was born in 1908, died in 1944, so he was early, after the golden age of exploration, where the British and the European climbers put up lots of first ascents, but well before Everest was climbed, and even though British had been trying to do it since 1921. And here's his quote. I think it's instructive. "You cannot stay on the summit forever. You have to come down again. So why bother in the first place? Just this. What is above knows what is below. But what is below does not know what is above. One climbs, one sees, one descends. One sees no longer, but one has seen. There is an art of conducting oneself in the lower regions by the memory of what one saw higher up. When one can no longer see, one can at least still know." So when I think about it, I mean, he captured something special, much more so, I think, than the famous quote, Mallory's quote, why climb it? Because it's there. I think this really captures the essence of it. It's this urge to find out, knowing that there may be something that's unknown, that's something new, that's something even miraculous up on top. But like he says, you can't stay up there forever. You have to come down. And for me, the moment wasn't so great on top. My special moment was the moment I knew I was going to climb, and the moment I got back down safely to Camp 4 at 26,000 feet. Because it was then that I was swept with the emotion and the recognition that I'd done something that I was really privileged, that only a few people had ever had the chance to be able to see and to do. And that's when I reflected and I started to realize how grateful I was and how much I depended on other people. There's a saying that guides, I learned this from guides on various expeditions as I got ready for this. I call it guide wisdom, and it's 3 points. And their points are, when you're asking, people are talking about, ready for an expedition and what to do. And they say, there are 3 things to remember. Number 1, take care of yourself. Number 2, help the team. And number 3, solve one issue at a time. But it's a great piece of advice, not just for mountaineering. It serves us well in life. And what I realized was helping the team became such a huge part of this. When I think about why was I so privileged, why was I so fortunate, what happened? I mean, I had to do my part, but I couldn't have done that without the help of others. And that network is really enormous. I think about my family who supported me all the time that I was. This is the area where a lot of this happened during COVID, down here in this basement. A lot of the training, a lot of hours away, a lot of hours isolated, and things that were put on hold so I could do that. And was, at the time, is that worth it? So I think about my family and how I was supported there. There were some doubts, but of course I had their support. I think about my friends. Again, there was even more doubt there, but I had their support. And then I had other people, this large team. I had the doctors who helped me through all of the issues that came up during my preparation, the coaches who helped prepare me physically, and in some cases even mentally, talking about some of the challenges and issues. I think about my teammates, the people with whom I climbed, with whom I'm very close, supporting each other, doing this together. I think about the Sherpas. One of them in particular, I had a personal Sherpa named Pasang Bote, 43 years old, 3 children, lives in Kathmandu. An amazing person, kind and strong and stalwart, faithful to me, helpful in all cases. I couldn't have done that without him and the other Sherpas on the team. And all the support people at the camps. It takes a big team. I feel like it's that circus. The pyramid that they make, the human pyramid, where the strongest are on the bottom, and then those who are strong but not as strong as the strongest are the next row, and there's another row, and there's another row, and finally at the very tip top, there's room for one small person on the very top, supported by all those other people. And I was that person, supported by all those others. I could not have done it without them. And I have to tell you, and I'm very grateful for that. I think about that. So people ask me, did I change? Have I changed without a change in experience? Looking for the top of that mountain, seeing those other 8,000-meter peaks down below me. Makalu, which is a huge mountain, looking down at Lhotse, the fourth highest mountain in the world, 1,000 feet below me. Choyu, another 8,000-meter peak. Amadablam, a beautiful peak that's only 20,000, and Pumori, which is higher than any mountain outside of Asia at 23,000 feet, almost so far below us we could hardly see it, and it's so far away, it's so diminished. I mean, you have just this beautiful vision. And so I think about the gratitude that I have, and I carry that with me, and I'm reminded of it all the time, about all those who supported me. And among those are the members of this church. I knew there were times, there are dark times when you're on a big expedition for a long period of time. There are times of doubt, uncertainty, of fear, of hunger, of cold, of uncertainty. Now, there are times, when you get past those, but there are a lot of those times. And I thought about this at some of the camps. I knew that the people in our church, in our congregation, were thinking about me, praying for me, and supporting me. And that was important, and I'm really grateful. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you this morning, and thanks very much.